and welcome back to Let Glory Shine. I'm your host, Martha Glory, and I'm so excited to be here for yet another episode of Let Glory Shine. I have an amazing guest again today. As I've said over and over on this show, it's always amazing when you cross paths with somebody that's on the same kind of mission and vision that you are, and it's exciting. So I can't wait to go ahead and introduce Tabatha Petrie. Welcome to the show.
Hello, so nice to be here. Thanks for
Th-
having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here. So I am going to let you tell us why our visions and missions really align and with what you do. So talk to me.
So, I am a 4.5 year survivor of the troubled teen industry and institutional child abuse. I was in a place called Tranquility Bay in Jamaica, and I was sent there by my adopted parents because I didn't fit the vision of what they wanted when they were adopting children. I wasn't out of control or a problem child. I did have, normal lying, manipulating, when teenagers are trying to push their boundaries. I was 12. But my parents sent me away to Jamaica, and I spent 4.5 years there where I experienced and witnessed physical, emotional, mental, and sexual abuse at the program. Um, and then for 20 years, I kind of stayed quiet. It was kind of like because they convinced us that nobody would believe us if we spoke up. And for a while, I thought I was the only one that took negativity out of being in the program. Like maybe I imagined it or I overthought it or the trauma wasn't as deep as I thought it was. Maybe I was feeling things more deeply than everybody else had. And then uh, last year, in the beginning of the year, a documentary came out that was exposing the troubled teen industry, and the community came alive. The survivor community came alive, and that is when I realized that there was more of us. We were just kind of isolated and alone, and we kind of needed to unite because I felt like if we united, if we made ourselves a community, that because many of us don't have relationships with our families and we don't have relationships from like high school because we were sent away, so we don't have like our friendships that we would have had if we had grown up here or if we had had a consistent, stable relationships. So I saw a lack of support for survivors of institutional child abuse. And so I was like, well, I guess the only solution to that is to create a nonprofit that focuses solely on creating resources and support for survivors of institutional child abuse. So I created Survivors Unrestrained, Inc. And the unrestrained is really important to me, and I know to a lot of survivors because we felt our voices have been restrained for a long time. But not only that, it's nobody believed us even when we did tell people what we went through when we were in the program. But also in a lot of these programs, you are physically restrained on top of also being silenced. So it's kind of like taking your power back and feeling and being more empowered to, to heal and to share your story and to work to prevent other kids from experiencing the same things that we did when we were children. And so Survivors Unrestrained, I formed it in April of last year. So we're going on, or of 2023. So I think I'm trying to remember. Yeah, 2023. So it'll be 2 years in April. I'm losing track of time here. So I guess it was 2 years ago when I formed the nonprofit. Um, Time flies, I guess. But the whole goal is to get survivors out of isolation because isolation can be so traumatizing all over again, even after you've been through all these traumatizing experiences as children and as teenagers. And then you isolate because you're like, nobody will understand what I'm going through. Nobody is going to be able to help me because they haven't lived it. People can try to help that haven't lived a certain experience, such as institutional child abuse, and they can have all the good intentions in the world and try to help, but they just don't get it because there's a different trauma about being trapped somewhere that you can't leave and then being torn down to never be torn back up. Which I don't believe in that anyways. I don't think that there should ever be a thing as somebody torn down to be torn back up. I don't think that that's necessary. But the saying is, we're going to tear you down to build you back up. But in these programs, that doesn't happen. There's no building back up. It's tear you down so that you will do exactly what we say, exactly how we say it. And if you don't, then you're going to fail at life, and nobody is going to want to be a part of your life. And so I started creating a actual survivor community. There was already a survivor community, and but I just kind of made it more because there was, there's different programs. So like there's WASP, which is Worldwide Association of Specialty Programs, which is the program I went to, and there was several groups of different subcategories of different, uh, you know, um, I can't think of the word right now, but like main companies that own schools. Um, but so I was able to bring everybody from all of them into one support group online, and we have people from all over the world that went to programs and all over different types of programs. So we have, conversion therapy, wilderness, behavior modification, mental health facilities, religious institutions, a little bit of everything, because we carry trauma that is so similar to each other, and being trapped somewhere that we couldn't get out of while also being tore down. And I thought that was so important to be able to just, if you're having a bad day, somebody that can understand exactly what you're going through. Because we have certain quirks and certain things that we do. Like, I know I apologize all the time for things that don't need to be apologized for. Like, I'll accidentally say the wrong thing and I'm like, I'm sorry. And like I caught myself wanting to apologize for my cat going up here, which I don't really need to apologize for. But I tend to do it anyways, because when we were in the program, we were told that everything was our fault. That no matter what it was always our fault. So I find myself apologizing a lot, and these, normal people don't really and not that we're abnormal, but the average citizen doesn't understand why we would need to apologize for every little thing. But you talk to a survivor and they're like, yeah, I totally get it. I understand what you're going through. I do the same thing, or over explaining myself, something I tend to do a lot. I it's just because I'm all like I micro analyze every facial expression that somebody gives me, and I
And you
micro
read into it.
I'm like, oh no, did I say something? Did I say something wrong? Did I do something wrong? Like, did they misunderstand what I was actually trying to say? Did they think I was being mean when I wasn't? I just haven't had my coffee yet. Like, it just like it's over analyzing everything, because again, we were told that everything was our fault, and that we were basically good for nothing, and that we wouldn't be anything in life. So I wanted to create a community, and we've done a great job. We have a very amazing survivor community. And like I said, a lot of people have created other survivor communities. I don't have a monopoly on creating survivor communities, but what makes ours a little bit different is that we provide resources for survivors. It's something that we're gradually working on. We have a food resource search engine on our website where you can just search what city and state you're in with the current climate of the economy and everything. We have it on there, so that you can just search the city and state, and it'll tell you all the foods, like food resources that are in your area, which I know that there are a lot of other ones that do that, but for survivors it's hard because we don't know where to search for things a lot of times, because we were so far out of society that we didn't learn even the basic things, like how to cook, how to clean, how to write a resume. A lot of us still have trouble understanding job benefits like 401ks and PTO and health benefits. Like, it's because we were so, like, where you would normally learn about those things, we weren't taught it. We weren't taught it growing up, and we were just given like the self-taught education where you go at your own pace, and all you have to do is read a chapter and do the test and get 80% and you pass. And there was nothing about, job searching or cooking or any life skills, at how to deal with other people, how to successful relationships, nothing like that. So we're trying to provide those kind of resources, basic home repair, basic mechanic work, basic cooking skills, but then also the financial support as well is something that we're working on. We're a very small nonprofit. We don't have a lot of money, but it's something that we're working on gradually. Um, Nonprofits surprisingly take a very long time to become successful, believe it or not. Somebody looks at Goodwill but doesn't realize that Goodwill's been around for many, many, many years, and that's why they've built relationships and they've grown, or and we're very, very small. But we did just recently do last for November. We're able to help 14 survivor families with grocery gift cards. So that was amazing, and I loved that because we were able to feed. It wasn't just 14 people; it was 14 families. So you know, it, and I mean, some of them were single, but the to be able to do that, to make sure that survivors are fed and only focus on survivors, because there's so many nonprofits out there and they do great things, but they don't, they help everybody. And to be able to focus on survivors who lack so many resources, and they lack, the help that they need, to be able to focus just on survivors of institutional child abuse is, it makes me happy, because we've been in the background and unbelieved for, so long, some for 30 plus years. And, it's kind of crazy because doing this interview today, because tomorrow will be 25 years to the day that I was sent to Tranquility Bay. I was sent on December 5th of 2000. So,
Wow. Wow. Tabitha, wow. I want to circle back because you mentioned so many important things that I want to draw the parallels for. When I'm hearing you tell your story and then I'm hearing you talk about the journey after you got out, right? I don't know your escape story or how you ended up leaving, which I'd love to hear more about, but I can just imagine the things that you're talking about, the feeling of everything being your fault, the feeling of no real identity, right? Because they completely tear you down and they don't build you back up. Because if they build you back up, then you would have the power, right? And so they have to keep you small. They have to keep you isolated. They have to keep you in fear, right? And so I just drew so many parallels from the things that you were saying, because we don't know how to ask for help when we first get out. I've been out of my situation now for 21 years in December as well. And so I look back at how deficient I was when I got out, how ill prepared I was, how I didn't have tools of any kind to navigate this world that I had to enter, right? Talk about writing checks, talk about, like, I was able to do laundry and cooking and cleaning and those types of things because my family taught me some of those things. But when I was in the compound, I did not have those same types of building skills or life, the real life skills that needed to be accumulated. So you get out and you just feel like, how do I even, where do I go? How do I start navigating all of that is, right? And then there's the internet, which you're like, that wasn't there when I went in. What are, like, there's just so many things had changed from the time that I went in to the time that I came out. And so I had like no tools. And so when you were talking, I was like, yep, 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 because it's so similar, even though they're two completely different experiences. The effects on our nervous system are the same because trauma is trauma, as you know. The effects on the emotional and mental capacity and fulfill, like those are the same. And so, wow, wow. I just really, really respect what you're doing and what you're building, and I'm so proud of you. And you are absolutely right. It's so often that there's people from my cult that haven't spoken out in 40 years that they've been out because they still have so much fear. What if I talk bad against the cult? My life will turn to shit, right? Or what if I have bad thoughts towards this? I'm going to, whatever, because that's how we were programmed. And so when I finally found my voice after I'd been out nearly 18 years, when I finally found my voice and you have this awakening, and I know you know what I'm talking about.
mhm.
And you're like, I can never be silenced again. How did I stay silent for 18 years? But the truth is, you have to go through a rewiring. You have to go through a reprogramming. You have to go through a de-brainwashing, and that's
Yeah.
real. That's real. And so I want you to talk about how those types of things, how you had to go through that part of the process, because that's what people need to understand is that it's not like you leave and it's like, and we're back.
It really isn't. I mean, especially I was there for 4.5 years. So and I was there, from 12 to 17. So very formative years of where you start creating your identity and you start understanding life and you start understanding how things work exactly with your mind and with your heart and with your soul. And so I feel like, especially with children that are in here when they're creating their own identity and they're creating who they want to be, and you're being told all these negative things about yourself, it starts you believe it because that your mind is looking for ways, looking for the environment around you to form
To
who you're
support
going to
it.
be. Exactly. And so I we can start with how I got out because I you had mentioned that, but so I actually really thought I was going to be there until I was 18. And for a lot of programs, what happens when you're 18 is you can sign yourself out, but you usually get a plane ticket to somewhere you're not from, and either $20 to $50. So my exit plan is what it was called was $50 and a plane ticket to Miami, and I'm from Michigan. So that was my exit plan, and I had my diary entries. I was counting down the days. I had unrealistic meal like grocery lists of how much I thought things were going to cost, and a plan. And I really thought I was going to be there until I had to sign myself at 18. But it, it was about because I left it. I got pulled in March of 2005 and I was 17. I had just turned 17 about a month and a half earlier. Um, or yeah, about 2.5 months earlier, my bad. And I was pulled by my parents. Why? I don't know. We've never talked about it. It's not something that we've discussed, mainly because my relationship with my parents right now does not exist. They disowned me for starting the nonprofit and for speaking out. Um, but I actually didn't go home when I got pulled. The same, I was uh, picked up at the airport by a family friend, the same family friend that suggested Tranquility Bay in the first place, and put in an apartment after I'd been in the program for 4.5 years and didn't know how to live on my own in an apartment, and basically told, we've paid for a month. It's up to you to find a job and continue paying after that. Um, and then I was left alone in an apartment, and it was intimidating and scary because I had been around people for first of all for 4.5 years, and my schedule and everything that I needed was taken care of, so to say. I mean, wasn't a great job, but I mean, I did have food, if not unhealthy and disgusting. And we exercised, and we had a schedule. I had structure. And then I'm thrown into an apartment and I have no idea how to live an adult life at all. I have no idea how to find a job, how to write a resume. I don't even know the first thing about where to look for a job. Um, I have, and I'm just kind of thrown there. And I think I just went into survival mode, which I recognize now. I didn't then, but I put myself in one bad situation after the other at that point. I didn't end up with on like drugs or in jail or anything like that, but I ended up, like I said, I'm adopted. I ended up going back to live with my biological mom because I didn't want to be in an apartment by myself that I had no idea what I was doing. And that was not really the best decision for me. My mom's not really a stable person. We don't talk right now. We don't talk. When that didn't work out, I actually signed myself up to sell magazines across the country, door to door, which now I recognize as labor trafficking because they don't really pay you. They just travel you across the country. So I got myself into a labor trafficking type of situation where if you don't meet the quota, you get like tables overturned at you. But there was some sort of structure. So it kind of felt like homey and like oh, okay. And I was used to being yelled at and told I was worthless, which happened, there too. Like, oh, you're worthless and a piece of crap for, not meeting your quota today, type of thing. So it as much as it was bad, it felt kind of like I was at home almost. And I finally got out of that, and I met my husband. And I mean, for the last I don't know, I met my husband in 2010. So for the past 15 years, I mean, I didn't even really tell my husband that much about it. I was just like, I got sent to a behavior modification facility in Jamaica. And when I would talk to other people about it, I just said a boarding school because I didn't, there had been times before then that I had mentioned that I got sent to school in Jamaica, and I had tried explaining that it wasn't a school, really a school. It was, basically a torture facility, and people just didn't understand. They didn't want to understand, and they didn't want to believe what I was saying. So I kind of just stopped talking about it completely. I think that my mind just kind of put a block on it. I kind of didn't even really think about it that much myself, other than when I have nightmares, because 20 years later, and I'm still once in a while, like once a month or sometimes more, depending on how much I'm talking about the program, will wake up and be freaking out because I think I got sent back to the program. Because there's still that fear, even though I'm a grown adult, that somehow I'm going to end up back behind the gates and behind the bars. And like I said, it wasn't until the program came out in 2023 that I was like, I hadn't even really started my healing process. I think I'm one of those people that I heal better when I'm helping others. And so for the last 2 years have been a really great healing process for me because I've been helping survivors, and I've been um doing acts of kindness for other people and supporting other people has helped me heal. And I think that everybody heals differently, and some people don't have are not at the healing place in themselves to speak out yet, or to be able, they might never be able to speak out just because of that's their own healing journey. And I feel like since I'm able to, and even though it's terrifying, um that it's my job to speak out for the people who can't, not only the ones that are alive that aren't in the healing process yet to be able to, but the 400 kids who have died in the programs, and the thousands of others that committed suicide once they made it out of the programs because they couldn't handle
Real life.
torture that they went through, whether it was
Yeah.
physical, mental, emotional. It's all torture. Torture doesn't have to necessarily be physical.
Yeah.
And so, I forgot the question. Did I even answer what you asked?
You did. You did. You circled around it, but I think what you shared is absolutely perfect. So thank you for that. I want to make sure that we cover what you're doing now with the petition and how you're trying to bring reform to, because of the experiences that you had, that you're trying to bring reform across the nation. So I want you to talk about that over this last 5 minutes that we have.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are currently working on a bill. It is, in short, it is called the Protect the Kids Act, and it will create reform within troubled teen industry programs, including religious programs, because a lot of times, as I'm sure you know, churches and religious programs tend to fall under because they're exempt, and they will call it a ministry, or they'll call it a million other things to try to fly under the radar. But this bill will prevent that. But it will mean that children can't be sent to these residential treatment facilities without having a true mental need, which means they have a true mental disease that cannot be treated at home or within community care. And that would have to be a decision performed by a licensed third party clinician, which means they can't have any ties to any of the current facilities, including religious facilities. And then it would have to be approved by, one of the things in the bill is a survivor led task force, which would be made up majority of survivors, because as survivors we're able to see past the manipulation because we saw it from the inside. We know what they're saying, like when they say something and everyone's like, oh, that sounds cool, but then you're like, no, that's not what they actually mean. What they actually mean is blah 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 blah, and they're manipulating you. So having a majority led survivor led task force will help with that. It'll also have clinicians and religious leader, religious people, and just a whole group of caseworkers. And it'll have a whole group of people that are able to analyze each case individually to make sure that people, because a lot of survivors would be like they want to get rid of facilities altogether in general, but I know that there are teenagers out there that do need true mental health help, and they're like, just for one example, a teenager can be a narcissist, and that's not safe for anybody for them to just be let out into the wild. And it's not their fault. They didn't choose to be a narcissist, and it's just a mental thing. But that's just one example. But to make sure that it's only the kids that have, because right now children can be sent for absolutely any reason, including mine, where I was sent for basically to be abandoned. And I know a lot were sent just because a step parent didn't like them, or et cetera, et cetera. We want to stop that. And we want to completely ban out of country placements. No child that is a US citizen should be sent out of the country
Correct.
for behavior modification or mental health help. There's just no reason for it when we can create that help here. And also, another problem is interstate. You know, the bill would stop interstate transport as well, unless there is not a safe school in their state, and that would be approved by the survivor-led task force. Like, okay, you don't have a safe, this one doesn't work for them, so okay, we will transport them to whatever state it is. And then another thing is that a lot of times the owners they'll get shut down, and they will open up a whole new one in a different name, or under different management, same owner. So it would require owner records to be kept, and child records, because right now there's nobody keeping track of the kids that are in these programs. Yeah, so this would keep track of the owners so that they can't just have a program shut down by the government and then go open another one in a different name. And it would also require that a 24/7 licensed clinician be at these mental health facilities, because currently most of the staff that they have do not have training, they don't have background checks, and they're
Wow.
working with children. So we want to change that. And there's a few other things. I know we're running short on time. It can all be viewed on the petition. I don't know if you're going to share that with the video.
I will put the link in the video. Yes.
But all the details are on that. But those are some of the main points of the petition. We just want to all around reform the troubled teen industry, because it's flown under the radar, and it is a privatized for profit, and it's $1 billion industry that just flies under the radar, and a lot of people don't even know it exists.
Yeah,
Like,
no.
I'll be like, the troubled teen industry, or the behavior modification programs or wilderness camps, and they're like, and they either they don't know what it is, or they think that the out of control kids that have
Right,
been
right,
like court ordered get sent there, which
right.
isn't true at all. They're
No.
misinformed. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I mean, that's the general overallness of it. We're trying to have the legislative packet sent out to legislators by the end of January to try to get a sponsor for the bill. But right now, any signatures on the bill is great, because it'll show the need for it. And Congress will be like, okay, well, 2,000 people have signed. That shows that there's a need for this reform.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely share the link in the notes and when we send this out for social media, make sure to include that as well, because I want to be able to support in any way that I can, and I know that others are going to feel the same way after they hear your story. So, Tabitha, I want to thank you for your bravery. I want to thank you for your courage. I know what it takes to take your power back and to take your voice back, and to say, I'm going to stand up for what I believe, and I'm going to share my story because I know it'll help other people. And I also know what it means to have others leave you and forsake you because you're standing in your power and they're not used to it. And it makes them feel uncomfortable, or they have shame and guilt and whatever, right? And so I
Right.
just want to say thank you. I want to say thank you for your courage. Thank you for your resilience. Thank you for choosing you so that you can help other people to begin their own healing journey. So I know how much courage that takes. So thank you. Thank you
Oh,
so
well, thank
much.
you for having a platform for people like me and so many others to be able to, publicly be able to tell their story. I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. This went way too fast, Tabitha. I could talk to you for the rest of the day because our stories are so similar yet different. So thank you for taking the time to be on my show. I can't wait to put this out so that others, the ill-informed is always the crutch, right? Like, because when people don't know, you don't know what you don't know. And then when you know, it's like, oh, now I'm responsible for what I know. And so I hope others will step up to sign the petition as well. So thank you for being on Let Glory Shine. I will see you next week, same place, same station. Good night.
Let glory shine from the ashes I rise. Every scar a story, every tear baptized. This is my freedom, this is my climb. Let glory shine, it's the power inside. This is your prosperity era, where dreams align with grace, abundance flows like rivers. You've stepped into your place. Rise, reign, and remember, you were born to shine. Welcome to your moment, Prospera, it's time.
We hope you enjoyed today's show on Prospera TV Network. Make it a point to visit us on YouTube and catch all your favorite shows anytime you want. Interested in hosting a show of your own? Or advertising your business on our network? Contact Elena Rodriguez.